Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It's Drew here, and we're back with Listmas Day 4. So I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. And if you haven't yet, make sure to go check out the first 3 days of Listmas, where we cover top 10 bucket list parks, bucket list coasters, and of course, my favorite coaster inversions. But today we're going to be stepping back from coasters and going into the realm of food, specifically from theme parks, with my top 10 favorite park foods. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of options when it comes to getting food at theme parks all around Southern California and around the US and world. And realistically, you could argue that food today is just as important as coasters and rides. And I think it's really easy to think that, especially when you think of the food events that have been happening specifically in the year 2020 at parks like Knott's and SeaWorld San Diego that have been able to draw people into these parks with just food and ambiance. But I do want to put in a quick disclaimer before we get to the top 10, and that is this list is going to be quite biased because it's my personal list. Now, in addition to that, there are 2 parks that I've visited 4 times as much, at least, in comparison to any other park out there that I've been to. And you will see a heavy bias towards those parks and their specific foods. Now, this is really only because I've been able to eat the food more and try out more and more foods. Because there are some parks I've only just started visiting within the past 2 or 3 years, and I've only got enough visits under my belt to check out a couple of their amazing food items. Whereas 2 of these parks I've been going to all of my life. So I've been able to check out their food collection a heck of a lot more than other parks, but you can bet the moment the parks reopen, I will be doing as many food videos as I can because I can't wait to taste all the goodness that these amazing parks are going to be putting out whenever they're able to open back up. But with that out of the way, let's head to number 10, which takes us to Six Flags Magic Mountain for the chicken waffle sandwich found at the chicken coop in the brand new underground section of the park. This dish combines some great crunchy and salty chicken with 2 thick waffles with butter and even syrup. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical of this dish when I first had it, but after taking a couple bites, I was really surprised in a good way. And I gotta say, from now on, it's probably gonna be my go-to in the underground. But of course, if chicken and waffles aren't your thing, Twin Charge Tacos will have you covered with their amazing tacos as well. But with that, let's move down south and a good ways so to San Diego for SeaWorld's fry cones. Now, specifically the California fry cone, which is literally a giant cone of French fries, meat, cheese, salsa, and sour cream. It is just fantastic and is a full meal for a lot cheaper price than a lot of the full meals at the park. And to be honest with you, I'd actually recommend sharing this dish because it is just so big. But I gotta say, it has become one of my favorites in the park. But of course, if you're looking for food near Manta, Mama Stella's is right there too, and they've got some fantastic Italian food. Now let's move to number 8, to Knott's Berry Farm for something that I've had there more than anything else, and this is the pulled pork sandwich at Boardwalk Barbecue. Now, this with a side of mac and cheese is a staple for me whenever I visit the park, especially since it's included on the meal plan. It is something that I usually get when I'm just having a relaxing day at the farm. And with the addition of some Boysenberry barbecue sauce and maybe putting a couple of those noodles of the mac and cheese onto the sandwich, it's just a lovely homemade meal that you cannot go wrong with. But we're going to stay in the same park for number 7 because we're going to Ghost Town's Bakery for the Boysenberry cronut. Now, this is the first sweet that we've had on this list, and it won't be the last, but this Boysenberry cronut is just perfect. The sweetness of the boysenberry mixed with the fluffiness and airiness of that cronut is just ridiculous. I could eat a full box of a dozen of these on the daily, and even though I'd probably feel a little sick, I would be satisfied beyond belief. But this is something I definitely recommend, and it is a little lesser known about at the moment, so when the park reopens, make sure to go check it out for only a couple bucks. Now we're heading to tomorrow, and specifically Disneyland, into Tomorrowland for Pizza Planet's chicken fusilli. Now this is a dish I think I've had more than any other dish on this list, and that's because it is just classic. Twisting noodles with a creamy sauce, bits of vegetables, and some well-cooked chicken, you really cannot go wrong. And funnily enough, my good pal Zach said this was the main reason he re-upped his Disneyland pass a couple years ago. Now, that's not entirely the case because Galaxy's Edge was opening, but we like to say it was the reason nonetheless. For number 5, we're going to head over to California Adventure for the Clam Chowder Bread Bowl at the Pacific Wharf, which is just one of the best clam chowders I have ever had. And as a big fan of clam chowder, the only thing that I think I've had better was literally in New England, but added in with a freshly made sourdough bread bowl, and you have a match made in heaven. The creamy and chunky soup mixed with the starchy and delectable bread, it is just amazing, and you definitely have to try it. And while you might not be a big fan of seafood, the broccoli and cheddar soup in a bread bowl is almost as good. Now we're going to go back to Knott's Berry Farm for something that's more seasonal nowadays, but this is the Fun Bun at Ghost Town Grub. Oh boy, now we're getting to the heavy hitters of this list. At 1,900 calories for a single Fun Bun, this is one of the most hefty food items I have ever had in one sitting. 1,900 calories, how could it be? Well, first of all, it starts as an amazing cinnamon roll. Now, after the cinnamon roll is all fresh and baked, they do a little thing called stuffing it in a deep fryer before coating it with boysenberry cream cheese to the point where it looks like it's drowning. Now add on some powdered sugar on top and you have yourself an amazing Fun Bun. Now this used to be a year-round treat, now it's more of a seasonal thing with the Boysenberry Festival and select events, but whenever it pops up, I make sure to get one because it is just one of the sweetest and most insane treats I can ever think of. Now we're into the top 3, where this is probably where you're going to see a little bit more of a pattern. Yes, I know there's a lot of Knott's and Disneyland on this list, but if you look back to my visits, I've visited Knott's well over 100 times and Disneyland probably in the thousands range. So I've had a heck of a long time to check out more and more foods at these parks than any other. And especially with them only being a 15 to 20 minute drive away, it makes it so easy to drive out to one of the parks, get lunch or dinner, and leave. So with that said, let's move to number 3 for the Ronto wrap at Ronto's Roasters in Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Now, whether it's the regular Ronto wrap or the breakfast Ronto wrap, you cannot go wrong with this. To me, it is one of the best food items I have ever had at a park. And if you're wondering what's in it, it's a pita wrapped around sausage, meat, coleslaw, peppercorn sauce, and in the breakfast one, there's even some egg thrown in. This is just delectable in every way, and in the early morning is a perfect start to the day, along with a hot chocolate or hot coffee. But there is just something about that peppercorn sauce especially that makes this mouth-watering to its core. Now, number 2, we're going to go probably as classic as it gets at theme parks, beside maybe cotton candy or popcorn or even pretzels. But this is Disneyland's churros. And I gotta say, the Disneyland churro is just fantastic. A light crunch with a soft center, covered in cinnamon and sugar. It's classic, simple, and is something that I could have time and time again and not get bored. Especially when they offer specialty versions every once in a while with all the new events that they hold. And while some of those miss the mark, a lot of them hit them very well. I think the s'mores churro is my favorite, especially with that amazing marshmallow dipping sauce. But even talking about the regular churro, having either the caramel or chocolate dipping sauce just adds an extra layer of sugar and sweetness that is almost unbeatable in my mind. So that's why the churro is number 2 on this list. But moving to number 1, we're staying in Disneyland and going over to New Orleans Square for Cafe Orleans Monte Cristo sandwich. Now, this has been my favorite item to get at a park easily for years. A deep fried ham and cheese with jam and powdered sugar. It is just delicious. With its sweet and savory flavors all mixed together, it is just a brilliant meal that whenever I get the chance, I won't pass up. Now, I have been having these less and less as of late because you now need a reservation for Cafe Orleans. But when the park reopens, you can bet I'm gonna start booking more and more reservations to eat more and more of these amazing sandwiches that in my mind are the best park food that I have personally ever had. So thank you so much for watching day 4 of Listmas. I know this one's probably a little more controversial, but let me know what your favorite park food is down in the comments below. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, but make sure to subscribe for more Listmas goodness for the next 8 days, and especially for tomorrow, which is going to be my top 10 favorite airtime moments and drops on roller coasters. So I'm sure a lot of you won't want to miss on that. But again, thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world. But until tomorrow, we'll see you on the next ride.